Hello and welcome to this Talk Tuesday. This is Self-Love is Parts Work.
Mm.
And Lori and I love, I'm Mia Sines from the Greatest You Academy co-founder, and here's Lori Monterey. Hey, Lori.
Hello.
We love parts work. We love the inner child work. So we asked the question, what does self-love and parts work have in common? How do they support each other? And what's really cool is that self-love and this parts work, they are incredibly interconnected. They're this framework, right, of who you are and how your life is. And moving it forward for our growth or our connectedness is all about connecting with our emotions, our beliefs, and our desires, which is what parts work is. And so when we can connect compassionately and loving to ourselves as we're healing, that's where the largest transformation is. Right, Lori?
Yes, absolutely. And this, I think, we have so many important tools that we do share, so many methods that we share. But parts work really, it's not a modality that we use, for this particular thing, to change your thoughts or to build emotional resiliency, or we use it for everything. And so, yeah, we really wanted to bring, along with a lot of other methods and tools that we often share, we're going to be bringing those to you guys so that you can, we've talked about what is self-love, why is it important, how foundational it is to anything that you want to create or change in your life. And so now we really want to share with you, okay, how do we do this, right? How do we learn to love ourselves? And parts work to me is my favorite practice because it's so gorgeous. And the way, I like to talk about it is our parts we're all made up of lots of parts, right? Every single one of us. You can probably, if we stopped right now, we could identify several parts of us just that we're recognizing here in this moment. And what happens a lot of times is we have parts that we don't necessarily appreciate very much. You can call those shadow parts. You can call those, maybe weak parts or parts that don't lead to the type of behavior that we like. So I work a lot, as you have probably heard me talk about, I work a lot with people who are working to overcome emotional eating. And so we work with the part that needs the food, right? There is a part of us that has a deep need in that moment. And it's asking for the food because it doesn't know what else can help it out of this situation, can make it feel better. So that part. But then another part over here, maybe that's the taskmaster saying, oh, but we said we're not going to have sugar anymore. You can't have sugar, you bad part. And so we're fighting with ourselves. And so parts work is really about honoring each of the parts, bringing them together. You can think of it like bringing them together at a board table, right? We're going to have a beautiful meeting where these parts can be honored, can be seen and honored and validated and compassionately dealt with. And at some point, we can start to bring cohesion and cooperation between these parts. And what that does for you is you get to bring them back and resynthesize, right, your being, and then you're whole again. You're not fighting with yourself, right? Having parts that you're not working with is kind of like trying to type a document with your right hand and your left hand keeps pulling it away, right? You can't get anywhere. So if you can synthesize your parts and cooperate with them and really bring them back together, you feel whole and complete, in charge, and you're able to take action that's in alignment with who you want to be.
That's one of the things that that's one of the things I absolutely love about the Academy.
Yeah.
I have a lot of things going in and out of my thoughts right now.
Yeah.
So this is the summer of self-love. We have a show, whether you're participating and enjoying it, which, by the way, we've been told over and over again that this is an exceptional show. And so they're all exceptional, but this is really special. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, please write us just to let us know, and I'll forward you all the stuff. So the thing about the parts work that's so beautiful with self-love, anything, actually. Lori and I, we we best teach those who have been on the journey. Um, we refer to it as the upper levels or the mastery. And so when you take your devotion of who you are and you work it with your parts and or your inner child, remember we've talked about the being sisters or cousins and family members. And so when you do that, the beauty is you get to heal faster. Why? Because you're doing it in gentleness, in
Mhm.
kindness. We accept gentleness and kindness. If you have an aspect about yourself, a part that gets angry, that doesn't want to think that you can heal faster, that absolutely, when we're talking like this, you get upset, I ask you to look at that, because that is
And
that is
can I just say too, get upset, yes, or shut down, zone
right.
out, like you're hearing us speak, but you're not really getting it. That's the same, it's the same reaction. It's
Yeah,
like resistance.
right. And so that is the area that you need to look at. Why is this happening? What you'll discover, most likely, and not trying to be a smarty pants about it, but what you'll discover most likely is the fact that you actually want it, but you have a fear of it disappearing. And so, what's the point of caring, right? So, this is a built up strategy that has kept you feeling safe and on top and in control, and that's okay. But if you let down the the stress about it, just let it all go, and you can actually work with it. Things will transform very quickly, very fast. So that's what we want you to recognize, is this doesn't have to be about anything to stress you out. This whole idea of parts work, which is, part of it is part of therapy, the internal family system, but it's also about when you bring the whole self-love gentleness in, which everybody likes to do with this. Again, it makes it easier for absorption, which is also why we have brought in the nervous system work into the academy, and Lori's been doing it for a very long time with her work. I do it in different ways. Now I'm using a lot of the somatic stuff. So somatic is about your body and the way that you feel and change your energy. That's a part of you as well.
Yeah, so true. And I love, so the way we do parts work is called somatic parts work. It's I guess I would refer to it as parts work on steroids, right? Because it brings in the body's experience as much as, the heart and mind. So I think, Mia, would this be a good time for us to kind of run through the mythology and actually, okay,
Sure.
this parts work, you've said
Yeah.
it's really powerful and I can use it, but how do I do it? Right.
Mhm.
So let's take an example. Um, let's see, I don't have one in mind. But maybe we could think of an example of a person. And this is something that, gosh, it's already come up. It's Tuesday and it's already come up for me with about 5 people. So it kind of tells you it's something that's, really pretty prevalent out there in our world. And that is the feeling that I have to um, uh, be I have to meet some certain level of expectations for me to be valuable and worthy. So that can look like, in my job, someone might say, oh my gosh, I go into my job and I'm just like, okay, who does this person need me to be? I'm working with people, and the whole time I'm like, what do they need? I need to be able to read their minds. They have to like me, and they have to think I'm doing such a great job in order for me to feel okay. That's something that is so common for people these days, probably all days, but what we're seeing more and more and more. So it's this insecurity with being okay, with being valuable, with knowing your worth, unless somebody is telling you, oh, you're doing a great job, your job is so totally safe, and then misreading um, signs from people, like if someone is having a bad day or they have a bad look on their face or whatever it is, oh, it must be about me, right? They must be unhappy with me. And so it really internalizing all of that. So if we're working with somebody on that and we want to bring parts work in, we could ask them, let's identify the parts that are present for you right now, right? And that may be the part that we're able to entertain and get to know that part a little bit. I have a part of me who feels like unless I'm pleasing everyone, I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy. And that may sound like, oh gosh, that's a big deal, right? But so many of us, if we really stop and think about it, that's how we operate in life, right? We're always looking to external validation and external, reminders that I'm okay in the world instead of just feeling it for yourself, which is something that me and I strive to help people achieve, that feeling like I know my value and worth at all times, no matter what's going on around me. But most of us don't feel that way. So opening up to that part, allowing that part, first of all, identifying, right, what the part is experiencing and that it even exists for you. And then starting to open a channel of communication for that part. So this can look a lot of different ways, Mia, and I know you have some awesome ways that we tell people to open up and try to work with their parts. Sometimes people have a kind of a stumbling block, like I can't really get in there. Like it's weird to me. It feels like make believe. I'm talking to a part of me. So we go about it in a lot of different ways. One of the ways is to journal, and you can use different color pens for the parts so that you can kind of start to get a real sense of the kind of the different aspects of you, and you can set up objects to take the place of this part, this insecure part, or this part that feels like unless other people are telling me I'm okay, I don't know if I'm okay. I don't know that I have value unless people are telling me that I do. What are some of the other ways, Mia, that you have asked people to get in touch with their parts, or to use creatively
Yeah.
to be able to do that?
So it's interesting. I've been thinking about what you said when you said, well, you said, I think, well, Mia can help us here. And then you started speaking again. And I started thinking about what you had said about how people can't even connect to what we're talking about. Because let's look at that first. That is what? Judgment.
Yeah.
Where does it come from? Probably our early childhood. So at one point, we learned to shut the heck up. Otherwise, we would be judged. We could even then throw on some frosting on that, or mud, or whatever you want to make the layer thick and harder to permeate. So it becomes who you actually are. So what if you tried to, so here's just some examples of connecting to your emotions or to your ideas. So what if I'm going to give you the awful ones up front. So what if you spoke out loud to yourself? What if you took a drawing board and wrote 3 aspects that you were feeling so that you could kind of dig into your parts? Would you feel weird? Maybe. Maybe do it on a smaller sheet of paper. But again, go back to who is judging me, and then allow that to sink in, to go deeper. I have a girlfriend that tells me to go 5 whys deep. So boy, when she said that, and I actually did that work, you get to the root of things. So I want you to do this for yourself. You are worthy of that. So that means that if you're talking to yourself, if you're journaling, if you're sitting there contemplating an experience, take notes so you don't forget. You know how you see and feel things. All of us see and feel things differently. So do what's best for you, but don't negate any of this, because it's not just a Lori and Mia thing, although we make it work really well. It's a universal concept. And so this is why it's so important. It's not just in the spiritual, and it's not just in the science. It's like it comes together. I wrote a piece last night about how self-love and this scientific facts, how it works on our body. So when you think about that things don't have, if it bristles you to think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be digging into my parts and how weird am I? Really, there's scientific foundation in everything. One, how it makes us feel and operate, but two, what it does to our brain. And so when you think about it like that, it becomes maybe more okay or real for you to be able to do it, then do it that way.
Yeah.
Do it whatever way works you, whether it's a spiritual woo-woo, whether it's a scientific factual study, whether it's a combination of both, because you have both sides in you, like I do, probably almost equal craziness to my other stuff. So yeah, do what feels right for you.
Yeah, yeah. But the point is, and don't give up. Try new things, because there's so many different ways to be able to connect with.
Everything is a somatic experience if we
Yes.
allow it to be.
Yeah, yeah, so true. So two other ways, is sometimes you can identify that a part of you is feeling, you can ask, how old is this part? And you may very well get an answer, and that part may be 5, that part may be 7, that part may be a teenager. And something that I really love to do is to find a picture of myself at that age and use that as a way to connect more fully and be more present with the part.
That's also
That
good
is.
for that's also good for the inner child work too.
Yeah. And when I think of parts work and inner child work, I think of them as the same. It's just inner child work is like a little subset of parts work. It's the same exact, we can use the same methods, we can use, but it's really focusing in on the part at a particular younger age. And so it's so powerful and beautiful. So what we're doing here right now is we're giving you our 4-part our 4 steps for working with parts. The first one, and you can follow the acronym if you're taking notes, ICVC. The I stands for identify. So that's what we're talking about. Identify the part that you notice is coming up and that you want to work with. We're listing some ways of getting in touch with that part. And it's very important at this point, when you're first starting to identify the part and get in touch with it, ask yourself, where do I feel this part in my body? What are the physical sensations? This is how we bring in the somatic element of our parts work practice into the method. Is right away you want to find in your body, where am I feeling this part? It might be a knot in your stomach, a lump in your throat, a tightness in your chest or your jaw, or tension in your shoulders. It could be any of these things. And so many more, right? I'll have clients in parts work sessions, they may say, oh, I'm having a strong tingling in my left femur. Okay. It's not that there has to be, any particular. And then what we want to do is we want to keep checking in with that feeling, that physical sensation in the body, and bring support to it. So that can be for this, in the academy, we flush everything out a lot more. But that can look like just simply, putting your hands wherever you're feeling it. I feel tightness in my chest or an ache in my chest. Okay. I'm going to use heart support. 2 hands, 1 hand, left over right, right over left, firm pressure, gentle pressure, whatever it is that the part seems to be asking for, that feels like it supports that part, so that it knows it is not alone, right? It is being welcomed, and we're making a space for it. And so we want it to be as comfortable as possible. And so our somatic practice can really add to our ability to go deeper and get in touch with the part. And then we're going to start that communication process. Now, communication, as Mia has told us many times in just this few minutes, there's no judgment here. Let's say we have the other example that we're talking about with the insecure part, but let's say we're working with a part that we really don't like a part that yells at people and gets really upset, flies off the handle, or a part that wants to eat or a part that says, you know what, I don't want to work out today. I'm going to hit the snooze button. Or a part that doesn't, he keeps procrastinating, right? All of these kinds of parts. We all have these kinds of parts, right? And if we were to invite any of these parts to come and sit with us and talk to us and share its experience and what's happening for it, a lot of times people would say, I don't like that part. Why would I want to communicate with that? I want that part gone. I want to punish that part. I want to put a lid on that part and, not let it out. It's ruining my life. And, we can think of that as like that teenager, right? Who is going through the teenage years. And if we just keep sending that teenager to its room, to their room and just keep ignoring them and telling them exactly what they're going to do, what are we going to get? We're going to get more rebellion, right? So we don't want to treat our parts that way either. So in this next step of communicating with our parts, we create a space that's safe for them, free of judgment. We really want to be caring and helpful and understand what their experience is, because we can't work with them if we're also shaming them, right? They're not even going to show up to that party if they feel like they're going to be shamed and not listened to. Anything else, Mia, on this second step of communicating?
No, I think you hit it right. Again, just a reminder, not that it wasn't brought up a couple times, but stop with the judgment, right? Reverse it or change it to kindness. Once you start to add the gentleness or kind talk into your life, you can start with others, but also do it for yourself, because what happens is everything shifts fast. Everything shifts fast.
So I think it's becoming really obvious why this is a practice that we're sharing during the summer of self-love, right? It's so loving to take your parts and be gentle with them and remind them that they're not bad, right? This part thinks that it's helping you, or it doesn't know any better. And so why would we judge it? Why would we punish it? Why would we, just try to make it not a part of us, right? None of those things are effective. So the next step in our process is to validate the V, ICVC. The V stands for validate. So validating your part means agreeing with it, understanding, letting it know, yes, I hear you. That experience is valid. The part says, there's no other fun in my life. There's no joy. I have to sit at this freaking desk every day for 10 hours and there's, never anything that brings me any excitement. Of course I need food. Or maybe it's a part that says, well, of course I get angry, no one ever listens to me, and whatever it is. And really letting that part not only speak, but then instead of judging, right, validating that experience. Oh, wow. Yeah. That must be really hard to sit there all day and do things that are boring and not have anything to look forward to. Wow, yeah, that makes sense. You're being taken advantage of. Of course you're feeling angry. So really validating that part in this third step. And then the fourth step, yeah, I'm sorry.
And so in the validating of this step, you're also not, which is also a V, you're also not falling victimhood, because it's not about beating yourself up again, right? It's not about becoming the victim. This is a victorious space to overcome what the chatter in your head or the imprinted information from 30, 40, 50 years ago is. And so the validate is literally about becoming victorious in the way that you communicate with yourself.
Beautiful. I love V for victory. Validate victoriously.
That's right.
Not victimized.
That's right.
And then the fourth C is to cooperate. And here I want to bring in the concept of the higher self. And the higher self is really, before you even start your parts work, you really want to ground in and get in touch with your higher self. Your higher self is not a part. Your higher self is the truth of who you are. It is you when you are grounded and connected to source, whatever that is for you. It is if you're a woman, it is your benevolent, powerful goddess queen. And if you're a man, it is your benevolent, powerful warrior king. And that is the place where you are fully in touch with your gifts, your value, your love for self. And I know that sounds like a lot, right? A big task. Maybe you feel like I don't have a higher self. But that's something that is developed over time. And it's actually something that we should do a separate teaching on the higher self, because it is such an incredibly important aspect of you. It's your truth. So that's who's communicating with the parts, right? When we say you want to communicate in this way, you want to validate, we're saying you, the true you, not a little part, but the beautiful. I think of parts work, I think of this role being played as the grace-filled mother, right? The grace-filled mother of the family of your parts. How does she tenderly and powerfully interact with her children? You could also think of it as the coach on a team, right? He's got all the players and somebody saying, hey, I want more play time. Hey, you didn't block me on that last play. And the coach, if he's a good coach, she's a good coach, she needs to stand there and be able to hear all the parts, bring them together, validate their experience, etc. So that's the person who's kind of orchestrating this beautiful meeting of the parts. And this last step is to cooperate. So in the cooperation step, you get to negotiate, talk to, understand where the part's coming from, and offer some solutions, or offer just plain love, service, and support. So if a part is sharing, let's go back to the eating example, this part that says, hey, I need to eat, there's nothing else going on in my life, or I feel so nervous and overwhelmed, it's the only thing that brings down my system enough for me to function through the day. So in the past, rather than saying that's a bad part, how do I control that part, how do I stop doing that, in the parts work scenario, you listen to it and understand what the need is, right? Instead of saying that's bad, you shouldn't do it, why are you doing that? Really understanding the why. And from that place, you can work with the part. You could say, wow, I understand. There's no fun. Or you're really overwhelmed. Your nervous system is overwhelmed. What is the one thing that I can do for you today to bring some fun into your life, to help you regulate your nervous system? I care about this. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I don't want you to not have any fun. I am dedicated and committed to you right now to figuring this out, and I will be with you every step of the way. Wow. The part just kind of melts, like, what? I thought I was in trouble. I thought you were going to yell at me. You mean you want to help me? You want to, and parts become so much more cooperative. And then you guys get to figure it out together through using stepping stones, which can be another whole teaching. But this method is something that can powerfully open you up to parts of you didn't know existed. Help you work with, not change, not stuff, not berate parts of you. And then things start changing. You're able to take the actions that you've been wanting to take. You're able to be with your internal experience because it's a pleasant experience, right? It's not a horrific tornado anymore where you're trying to keep parts from coming out and all of that. It's a gentle, welcoming synthesization. Is that a word?
Synthesizing or yeah. I personally would call it the synthesization.
Yeah. If it's not a word, it should be, and we can maybe we can trademark it. Yeah.
Cool. That was a really good way to ground this in. And remember again, if it sounds crazy, it's look at the way you're perceiving it. And then look at that further. You may find that you have an uncle talking in your ear, or a father, or an aunt, or your mother. And so if that's the case and you recognize that too, fabulous. That's another aspect you get to remove from your experience in order to feel complete. And parts work is just one of the very important aspect, but one of the aspects for healing. And as we mentioned before, it's also, a therapy process. So it's not just like, we came up with it because we're cool. We use it because we're cool. No. But seriously, everybody, there needs to be levity and lightness about all of this, because the density of which a lot of us were raised in our lives doesn't need to follow us to our grave. Really doesn't need to follow us all the way to the end. We can change and shift and recreate everything that we want. So it's a beautiful aspect
We
to
sure
include.
can.
Yeah, and to include self-love in every aspect of your life, because if it works for parts work and it works for mirror work and it works for all these beautiful aspects about you, then you need to recognize that it is who you are becoming. So Lori and I love to talk about that self-love is the end all be all stage of you have done all this stuff and you become love within yourself. So whatever reason you want to get clear so that you can do your work. I also wanted to let you all know that at the end of this coming up Summer of Self-Love video series that is so amazing, we are having, which we're going to put it out to all of you, even ones that didn't sign up for it, we are having an I Am Self-Love Challenge. And so that will start to be advertised in a day or two. So enjoy that with us.
Yeah. Mia, this modality that we're sharing today, it's not something. Can you take what you've learned here and really start to implement it and really start to, have some powerful changes from it? Of course you can. But I always like to preface, this is something that it goes really deep, and it's a very inclusive kind of modality. And so there's so much more that we could say about it, so much more that we could offer you and work with you. It is part of the work that we do with people one-on-one and in the academy. And so if this is something that is speaking to you, something that you want to learn and understand more about, know that that's available to you through your work in the academy. It's one of dozens of modalities and tools that we offer and share. So, do know that that is available. Also, if you're working with a part and you can't quite figure out how to, maybe you're getting stuck on one of the steps or something like that, reach out in the Facebook group and let us know how that's going so that we can support you, because we really do want these talks and the tools that we offer to be useful, something that you can take and feel shifts from using them. So let us know how it's going, and let us know what parts you're working with and what parts are asking to be worked with. We'd really like to hear from you on that.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn off the recorder.